فانطلقا حتى إذا ركبا في السفينة خرقها قال أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا. Suratul-Kahfi, Surah number 18, Ayat number 71. What a verse, what a verse. We'll have to have 2 or 3 iterations for this verse. It's really, really complex. I'll give you the easy version first. فَإِنْتَلَقَا فَانْتَلَقَا. Right? You can straight jump into almost the end of the second line where it starts with it. It was then that they hurriedly set out and proceeded. We'll focus on that. Focus on that part. For then, it's actually so, but I'll explain that a little bit. For can be then. In that context, I'm using the first iteration, the easier version. Then, in talaka, they hurriedly proceeded. Something like that. Then they hurriedly proceeded. This is what I think either most or all of the translators or scholars have translated it as. Then they hurriedly proceeded. Hatta, until, either, when. Rakiba is to say ride. In the context of a boat or a ship, it would be they embarked. Rakiba is in the dual form, so they too embarked. Two, not TOO2, but TOW. Sorry, TOO2. The number 2 basically. But they is fine. I've explained this so many times before. Until they embarked. Fi as-safinati, on the boat. You could say on the ship as well, but perhaps if you use the word ship, you'll have the modern huge ships, Titanic, or the ones which are even much, much bigger than that in today's ships. So we want to avoid that sort of imagery in your mind, so you use boat. Otherwise, it makes sense to translate this as a ship. I'll explain why. Let me explain that why. They embarked on the boat. Fi is in, but they embarked. Prepositions, they're unique to languages, right? They're unique to languages. So when you fi a safinat is fine, but when you use the word embark and you use the boat, you don't use in. They embarked in the boat. Don't do that. So they embarked on the boat. Otherwise, we understand what it means, right? And if it's a ship, rather than on the ship, you could say in the ship. You understand what I mean? Okay. Why it is ship, not boat, and why we have still used boat? I'll explain that a little bit. So let's focus on the word as-safinati. So let's try to decompose this. So, if there is a word, you want to make the feminine of that word. For example, Muslim, Muslima. We add a ta marbuta at the end, the rounded ta. Ta marbuta. Marbuta is rounded and ta is the ta, rounded ta. So this is ta marbuta at the end. So it would seem that Safina is the word then, right? Okay. Now again, I mean, it's not exactly analogous, but I'm trying to help you understand. For example, if you make plural, Muslim, Muslimun, Muslimin is the plural. So Safun, Safin would be the plural. So the category of vehicles, that is called ship. So in that sense, right? So the primary root word would be saf, as-saf. I hope I was able to make you understand this. No, don't come back and tell me, no, but both the things do not occur simultaneously. I know that, right? I know that. For example, Muslim is Muslimun, but then the feminine plural is not Muslimunatun. It's not that. I know that. Muslimatun or Muslimatin or Muslima. I know that. But I'm just helping how languages evolve, and they assume different structures or constructs. I'm trying to help you understand that. So if saf is the word, it would seem that ship is derived from this Arabic word saf. I hope I was able to give this interesting bit of information, maybe. That's what I can say it is. So again, the P is not there in Arabic, so it could not have been shap, it has to be saf. P and F, so close to the two sounds close to each other. So okay, let's leave it that. But if we translate it, they embarked on the ship, the imagery that comes into mind is a huge vehicle or mode of transport that is used in seas and oceans and like that. But this was apparently, the backdrop of the story is that there used to be these, what should I say, uh, boatsmen who used to ferry people across the river, and that was the source of income. Poor boatsmen. I don't know if boatsman is a correct term or not. Similar to herdsman, I'm using a term boatsman. Anyway, so that is what they embarked on or came on board. So that is why using the word boat, a small maybe river or rivulet, and they used to ferry them across, the passengers. And apparently Khizr-al-Islam was known over there, and so they didn't even charge him any money for their ride. And again, obviously Musa al-Islam was accompanying him, Joshua al-Islam was accompanying them too. So three of them were there, but they did not charge him. And this is going to be important because of what follows from here. Kharakaha, he damaged it. Khizr al-Islam, after having embarked on the boat, he damaged it. Now, kharaka means to tear. You can, kharaka of a paper you can do, tear apart a paper, or you could say, in this context, maybe he pulled out a plank. Understand what I mean? A plank of the boat. So the water started flowing in. So rip off, rip apart, so something like that. In that context, we have to understand. Basically, he damaged it, but the underlying nuances I'm trying to give from the Arabic language. He damaged it. How he damaged it is what I have explained already. Qala, he said, now looking at this, Musa al-Islam, whose personality was an aggressive personality, he could not hold himself back. You remember the conversation, you will not be able to have patience with me. No, I will be able to have patience with you. But how can you have patience when you don't know things? I will be patient. So all those conversations in the last few verses, just remember that he was not able to hold his patience. He sort of reacted spontaneously. It was not in his intent to react spontaneously. The conversation was there, he was aware, but he spontaneously reacted. They didn't even charge us money. Out of goodwill, they allowed us, and you destroyed the boat. What are you doing? Qala. So now Khizr al-Islam is responding back to Musa al-Islam. He said, sorry. So Musa al-Islam is continuing. Musa al-Islam is continuing. Yeah, correct. Musa al-Islam is continuing the conversation. Qala, he said, Musa al-Islam said, is a question word. Kharaktaha, have you damaged it? Have you made a hole in it? In it, ha is referencing back to the ship, Safina, because it's feminine, right? Kharaktaha, have you made a hole in it? So if you rip apart a plank, if you tear it, if you damage it, there's a hole, now water is seeping in. And they gave us a free ride and you are damaging it. They didn't even charge us money, you're damaging it. So naturally, this reaction came out quite spontaneously without him sort of thinking through or trying to recollect the conversation they have just had, right? Musa al-Islam has just had with Khizr al-Islam. Akharaktaha, have you made a hole in it? Litughurika, so that you could drown ahlaha, its people, means its passengers. Lakad, certainly already. Jita. Now, Jita, Shai and Imran, I want to highlight a little bit more. Jita is you came, Shay'an thing, Imran bad. You came thing bad. Doesn't make any sense. We need to understand. Most of the translators and scholars, in fact, I guess all of the translators and scholars have translated it something like, you have done something bad. You have done something bad. But it's not fala, it's not done, it's come. So the way to understand this, you have come up with an idea that is awkward. You've come up with something, so with an idea that is awkward, and done something bad. You've not just come up with an idea, but you've also done something bad. But if we don't translate it like this, capturing all the nuances, then ji'ta is not the right fit word over here. So two levels of execution is happening in the mind of Musa alayhi salam, at least. That's what the thought process is in his mind. So you have not only come up with an idea that is awkward, but you have followed up by doing something that is bad. What have you done? And done something bad. These are poor people, the boatsmen. Okay. Again, another reason for me using the term boat instead of ship is these poor people, they possibly could not, the association that we have with the ship and the owner of a ship, that association is not really an accurate depiction of what is being conveyed over here. So you understand what I mean? You have come up with an idea that is awkward and done something bad. something, the shay and something, Imran. Now, Imran we need to understand a little bit more. Amara, Amr, command, order, to command, to order. Commandment, not really commandment, because commandment we associate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God. So that is it was in your authority, but still you went ahead and did something bad. How could you do that? Okay, so Imran itself, how do I explain? The connotations would be one, simple-minded. You've done something very simple-minded. Another connotation, stupid. I'd rather refrain from using the word stupid, because Musa al-Islam would refrain from using that, though it's a dictionary meaning, but not all the dictionary meanings need to apply always, right? So stupid, I would refrain. Another meaning is the baser self of human that incites to evil. So you understand all of those connotations, Imran? So simply put, it's something bad. And in the next few verses, a similar construct will appear, and instead of the word Imran, something else will appear. And at that time, we need to get back to this verse once again to get the context and to highlight the difference why the two separate words are used. The context in the last part would be similar in that sentence, but the word would be different. So that is something we need to keep in our mind. So this far is clear. But my oh my, فَانْطَلَقَا فَإِنْطَلَقَا, it's real difficult to translate. And I've used two full, that this translation is around 4 lines, and I've left 2 lines completely blank, and I've jumped after that to explain the entire thing. So what is فَإِن طَلَقَ doing over here? For is so. Now I'm suggesting rather, it's not a timeline event, but it's a causality, cause and effect sequence that's happening, that's intended. So, in talaqa. Now the word in talaqa, the word talaq, you've heard, right? To divorce, to separate. What is the verb form 7? In fa'ala, in talaqa. And it's a dual form, so in talaqa, that's fine. What is it doing? What is it doing over here? Where is the question of divorce or separation over here? My question to you, isn't it? It's time for us to think and ponder. Why is this word even used over here? So now it necessitates that we take a deep dive into the dictionary meaning of talaq as well. Interesting conversations. If you ask anyone about the word talaq in the Quran, I'm saying, let it be on record that not a single person, not a single scholar will even think of referring to this verse. But the word talaqa, derived from of that, is used in this verse. This is how closely, how passionately we should study the Quran. Now, interesting word, talaq and talaka, the root word, the trilateral root word. It doesn't mean to divorce, to be separated, to divorce, to separate. It doesn't mean that. It actually means to be happy, to let go. So divorce can be a derived meaning, that is fine. Now, happy. Now, when a couple is not getting along in spite of all the efforts, so what do you do that with all the pain and the emotional turmoil? That's in the best interest of both the parties, the husband and wife, to go their separate ways. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed for this provision. Some of the other religions, they say this is not even allowed. But Allah said, okay, among the things that He has allowed, this is the most hated or detestable in the sight of Allah, but it is allowed. If you can go along well, that's the best. But if it's not happening between you two, then what do? You go your separate ways. So to be happy, once that what should I say, the entanglement is unentangled, then you're happy, then you are set free. So all of these meanings are also applicable. Interesting word. Now, there are other connotations as well, and we will actually try to discuss those from the perspective of the root word analysis and the verb form analysis, as well as from the perspective of the implications, the consequences, the connotations. So whenever this verb form 7 is used, it basically means it's a reflexive, and it can mean passive as well. So these two things we need to keep in mind. So how to explain? Let's use the easier word, nasara, to help. So reflexive would mean to help oneself, passive means to be helped. So both the connotations and simultaneously, either separately or simultaneously, can hold good in verb form 7. So what has happened in this separation, so to say, the eventual separation, so to say, that Musa alayhi salam will be impacted more, right? Will be impacted. They both will be, I mean, not so much Khizr alayhi salam, the dual form is used with two persons are involved. Joshua is not even being treated as a separate entity. He is clubbed together with Musa alayhi salam, and that is being considered as one entity in which is a silent observer, sort of, Joshua alayhi salam. So Musa alayhi salam and Khizr alayhi salam, they too are being captured in the dual form of the verb form 7. So what is happening is, and this word will appear again and again, and when we come across those verses, we'll have to get back to this again to appreciate it in a way that is impossible otherwise to appreciate. So let me try to give you the word intalaka now, the full connotation, and I'll consume 2.5 lines, as you can see on the screen. So having agreed upon, so they were having these to and fro conversations, right? So having agreed upon on the conditional context, they let go of their conversation. So to let go of the conversation, that is one of the implications of talaq over here, in talaqa. They let go. To let go of something, to let go of the conversation, to settle down. And then having been influenced to develop their respective mindsets, while it was in the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they be sent out on their journey. Now they're at a specific place, to be separated from that place and to be sent onwards on their journey. So second instance of this intalaq is coming through, that they be sent out on their journey. It was then that they hurriedly set out and proceeded. So now quickly it's happening, intalaq is happening. You appreciate it? And as I said, this cannot be fully appreciated unless we come across the next occurrences. How many I'll not even tell you at this point of time. The next occurrence, and then we'll have, probably not in the second time, okay, let's see, the last time this word occurs in this story, in this history rather, then we'll have the full appreciation. Amazing usage of the language, of how the language is used to convey something that is so very remarkable. Again, as I said, the kharaka, the first and second time, neither of it is damaged, but we have used it to sort of make it easy for you to damage, and to, we can use, you damaged it is also, but made a hole by damaging it. So all those connotations are given, but this intalaka was special, extra special. So was imra, but intalaka was extra special, and we had to devote this time. So the last few verses has been quite a breeze for us. I guess the next few would be a breeze for us, but wherever this consideration is required, a deep dive, a deep thought-provoking conversation is required to help you understand, it's not fluff that we're talking about, then it is required. I can't help it otherwise. Otherwise, the translations, they read it and 90% of the understanding you will stumble only in these 10% of the cases. So if you're hearing this through, then it makes sense for me to help you understand, and for me to explain, to be able to explain, to try to explain some of the deep nuances which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used, and to develop an appreciation for that. So we'll read it one more time, obviously, if required, 2 more times. Let's see. فَإِن تَلَكَ حَتَّى إِذَا رَكِبَ فِي السَّفِينَةِ خَرَقَهَا قَالَ أَخَرَقْتَهَا لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. So having agreed upon the conditional context, they let go of the conversation to settle down, and then having been influenced to develop their respective mindsets, while it was in the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that they be sent out on their journey, it was then that they hurriedly set out and proceeded, until when they embarked on the boat or the ship, he damaged it. He said, have you made a hole in it so that you could drown its passengers? Certainly already you have come up with an idea that is awkward and done something bad.